When you hear the word robot, what pops into your head? Maybe a friendly helper from a sci-fi movie, or maybe something a little more menacing. Well, the real story of the robot is way more surprising than you might think. It didn't start in a high-tech lab, but in the world of fiction. So how did we get from a word in a play to the incredible machines changing our world? Let's dive in.
Yeah, you read that right. The idea behind the word robot wasn't about circuits and AI. It was about something much, much grittier: forced labor. The root of the word itself has this really dark, compelling history that honestly sets the stage for everything that came after.
So, where did this word first show up? Not in some engineering textbook or a patent application. Nope, it was born on the stage, in a science fiction play that would literally change our vocabulary forever. And this is a scene from that very play. So, it's 1920, and the Czech writer Karl Čapek is writing RUR, which stands for Rossum's Universal Robots. He needs a name for these artificial workers in his story. At first, he was thinking labori, from the Latin for work, but his brother suggested robot from the Czech word robota. And these things in the play weren't even mechanical. They were like artificial biological people, created for one purpose: to serve.
Okay, so once the idea of an artificial worker is out in the world, what's the very next, most obvious question? Well, how do we control them? How do we make sure they do what we want, and that they do it safely? This question led to one of the most famous ideas in all of science fiction. And that's where this guy comes in. Just 20 years after Čapek's play, the absolute legend, Isaac Asimov, decided to tackle this problem head-on. In his stories, like the famous I, Robot, he didn't just write about robots running around, he actually gave them a built-in moral code. And here they are, the famous 3 laws. The real genius here is the hierarchy, the way they're stacked. The first law, don't harm humans, is the absolute top dog. A robot has to obey orders because of the second law, but never if it means breaking the first law. And sure, it can protect itself, thanks to the third law, but only if that doesn't mess with the first 2. It's this elegant, logical system that created a moral compass for machines, and people have been debating it ever since.
So we have the word, and we have the ethical rules, and both were born in fiction. But how did the robot make that massive leap from the page to a real, physical, working machine on a factory floor?
You can see that leap right here on this timeline. For decades, the robot was just an idea, a sci-fi concept. Then, bam, 1954, an inventor named George DeVoe patents a robotic arm and starts the world's first robotics company, Unimation. His work eventually led to the Puma arm in 1978, which was one of the first really successful industrial robots ever built for the assembly line.
Okay, so we've tracked the history from a play